Oilers Panthers Stanley Cup Finals rematch. Will the Stanley Cup come back to Canada for the first time since 1993? And is this when Connor McDavid solidifies his legacy? All this on the next 1420 Sports Bar podcast. For Beer Sports, talking a whole lot more. Let's get into her.
The following is a presentation of the Belly Up Sports Media Network.
1420 Sports Bar Podcast. For Beer Sports, talking a whole lot more. Join host Brent Radlinsky as he bellies up to the bar and gets the conversation going that'll make you think you're sitting in your local watering room. It's sports, beer, and shenanigans. So sit back, grab a few beers, and let's get into it. The 1420 Sports Bar Podcast, For Beer Sports, talking a whole lot more. Tonight's show, as always, is brought to you by SeatGeek.com, the SeatGeek app. Use promo code BELLYUP over there at SeatGeek and save yourself $20 on your first purchase. Remember, we are part of the Belly Up Media Network. Go to bellyupsports.com for all their great articles and other podcasts, such as No Credits Required, the Third and 10 podcast, Corner Booth, my guys over there at Craft Brew Sports and a whole bunch of others. And I just got finished recording a Belly Up Super Show talking about this very Stanley Cup Finals playoff edition. It's a great little show with the guys over there. So it was with Dustin and Ryan from No Credits Required, and Brian Germanero has been on my show a couple of times over there at Third and 10 podcast. He does a lot of writing, had an internship with some minor league hockey teams. Great career ahead of him. So thank you very much to Belly Up and for Kelsey for putting it all together. So it's a great show. A lot of hockey talk, a lot of fun. Said a lot of things that they weren't too sure what was going on with Canadian verbiage compared to American hockey verbiage and things. So it was a lot of fun to get along and talk with those guys about this Stanley Cup final. Thank you to everybody who's listening to the show. Ratings are going kind of crazy lately. It's kind of been a good thing. So it's a good thing as always. Thank you very much. And make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel and the Belly Up's YouTube channel as well. But anyways, Stanley Cup Finals, they get going on Wednesday night. Rematch from last year's slobber knocker. What a series that was. Oilers, remember, you went down 3-0, came back, made it, went to a game 7, 3-1 or 2-1 final, whatever it was, doesn't much matter. Panthers won in 7, but you got the same two teams going at it again. One team's got one under the belt, one team doesn't. And that's obviously one team does, but one team doesn't in its current edition, and that is the Edmonton Oilers. We'll start with them and how this is all going to go down in this podcaster's opinion. But this whole thing is going to begin and end, I believe, with Connor McDavid. He's been a man on a mission. We said it on this podcast. You hear it all over the place how the guy's just been just a different look about him, a different way of going to play, the way he's been playing, scoring goals. Yeah, he's celebrating, but there seems to be a little bit more of an edge to him. And you notice when the Oilers won that game 5 against Dallas, and the series, it wasn't even close when you think about it. It shouldn't have went 5. It was other than 5 minutes in game 1. The Oilers dominated that entire series. Should have been a sweep, but you watch how businesslike the Oilers were when they won that Western Conference Championship for the second time in a row. That they touched the cup, and which I think is a bunch of hoo-ha. It doesn't much matter. The Clarence Campbell Bowl, not the cup, but they were really businesslike. They weren't too celebratory. Yeah, they probably had a good time. Yeah, they were happy, and on the rest it went. But how just they were like, okay, this is another step in the way this has to get done. This is another step to get to our ultimate goal, which is the Stanley Cup. And Connor McDavid was leading that charge right on through. He is on a mission, and I don't know if he can be stopped. The only thing that might stop him is that they might not have enough. But you think about what's happening here with McDavid and with the Oilers and with Draisaitl and the Oilers is something reminiscent of back in, I think it was 08-09 when Sidney Crosby and the Penguins lost to Detroit the year before. Then Evgeny Malkin and Sidney Crosby came back in 109, got their first cup. I think they got 3 now, but it was one of those things. You go, okay, this is what has to happen. They lost, and then they came back and won. You go back even further to 1983 with these same Oilers when they had that terrific team that lost to the Islanders in four straight back then, I think it was. and then just they learned that you have to let the winning's a lot harder than it could be, and that you have to learn how to lose a little bit before you can win. And that's what happened back in 1983 and then 84 when the Oilers won their first one. So it's kind of reminiscent of all that when Gretzky and all those high flying Oilers teams were doing the same thing that this Oilers team is doing. It's just scoring goals and scoring goals and scoring goals, and not much stopped them. And the Islanders came and did it, and then the next year they came back and won. And Messier and Gretzky began their legacy, same as Crosby and Malkin started their legacy. And then you think about other legacies that have happened throughout sport where it just doesn't fall in your lap. You have to lose a lot. You have to lose a lot. You have to figure out how to win. Right parts, right pieces, right players, some additions and subtractions. You think about those great Chicago teams with Kane and Caves, or Kane and Taves. Kane and Taves. I've been screwing it up for years. You say those back to back a few times. How they end up winning some Stanley Cups. So it's those kind of dynamic duos who eventually get them. And you talk about Yzerman, and maybe Fedorov as those two guys back with those Red Wings teams. This is the same kind of deal that the Oilers have, but this is Connor McDavid's Stanley Cup to win. And the thing is, if they don't do it this year, you think then when they're going to do it. The West is a lot harder to get through, and they've got through 2 years in a row, but can they do it again next year? The East is a lot easier to get through. Toronto, obviously, is not a powder puff. What a mess that is. We won't talk about the Leafs. It's supposed to be a positive episode about hockey tonight, but it's you look at this Oilers team and you think that they're probably, this is going to be their, I don't want to say their last chance, but this might be their last chance to get this thing done. You eventually have to do it. You eventually have to get over that hump. You have to get it done. You have to win something, because otherwise you just don't. And it's pretty much that simple. You think about a guy like a guy I was going to talk about a little bit later on, but you look at a guy like Corey Perry, who's in his fifth straight Stanley Cup final, and he's not long to be 7 goals in these playoffs, and he's been nothing short of spectacular. And this kind of guy, he's got a lot of sandpaper in his game, as everybody knows. He knows how to win. He's done it in the World Championships, World Juniors, Memorial Cups. And too bad about the Tigers. If you're listening from Ontario, you probably don't agree with me right here. But too bad about those Tigers yesterday, in what town I used to live in. They losing Memorial Cup to a great London team. Both teams were wagons going into this thing. And I kind of had a feeling that London was going to pull this one off. It's just a little bit more age, a little bit more experience. And this is the way the Memorial Cup goes. So congratulations to the London Knights, and too bad for the Tigers, but they get another shot next year. Unless the rumors are true, and Gavin McKenna, I was reading today, it's not Michigan that I was led to believe. It's going to Michigan State, but I digress about that. We'll talk about the back to Stanley Cup playoffs. But this Oilers team has everything it takes to win a Stanley Cup, and they have the best player on the planet, and it's not close. They have the second best, maybe the fifth, the top 5 player, anyways, in Leon Draisaitl, and then they have a couple of guys that I think will be the X factor in this game, because the way that Florida Panthers play hockey. The Florida Panthers play hockey in a very, very hard, heavy, sandpaper kind of way, and I really like the way they play it. And Paul Maurice leads this team in a Western Canadian old school Kamloops Blazers, punch them, stick them, kill them. Then I think you guys know the rest of those things, that Slapshot movie. But they play very hard, they play very heavy, they play very gritty. They have Brad Marchand, who joined that team at deadline, and Marchand's a great acquisition. Who wouldn't want them on their team? I don't understand why he ended up going to the Florida Panthers. Maybe he got to pick and choose where he went, but they play a very hard and heavy game. Barkov's great. You got Marchand, obviously. You got little Tkachuk there. You got a bunch of guys there that know how to play hockey. It's just a fantastic team, a fantastic Sam Bennett. You have Reinhardt. You just some good Western League kids. You have a team that plays hard and heavy, and they don't care who scores goals. They score enough goals to win, and they don't mind spitting in your face and punching in the face. They have a great goaltender in Bobrovsky that's going to be tough to beat, but the Oilers ran through some great goaltenders already in these playoffs. You look at that. You look at that series against the Kings. They won that series, and that's a Vezina Trophy winning candidate in net for them. Then they beat the Vegas Golden Knights, who had a great goaltender, a Stanley Cup winning goaltender in Aiden Hill, and then you go into Dallas, and they beat Dallas with a great goaltender in Ottinger in Dallas. So goaltending isn't really the Oilers' ability to score goals hasn't been a problem in these playoffs, and no matter what goaltender they face, now they're going to face one of the best in the game, if not the best in the game, in Bobrovsky. And I don't think that bothers them at all because they know that they're going to score goals. The problem that the Oilers might have is, do they have enough grit and sandpaper to match that hard and heavy Florida Panthers team? And I think that it's going to rely on the shoulders of a couple of aging vets, one guy in Corey Perry and the other guy in Patrick Kane. And those two guys might be the guys to do it a little bit and say, you know what, you can push us, you can push us all you want, but we have a group here that's not going to get pushed around. Is McDavid a chippy guy? No. Is he a tough guy? No. But I don't think he wants to be pushed around. I don't think he will. Losing Zach Hyman, I think, is a big thing for this Oilers team. That I don't know if you're not going to replace a guy like Hyman the way he's been hitting guys throughout the playoffs. He's been a one-man wrecking crew out there. When he was hurt, I think he was leading the National Hockey League playoffs in hits. So you're not going to replace that. You're going to have guys that can come in and out, but and Hyman can score some goals for you now and then too. I don't think Jeff Skinner's got that one in Game 5. I think it was. You don't expect him to get many more opportunities to score any goals, but you never know. He might chip in one here or there. But he's a decent player. But who is he? But Connor McDavid, is this the year that he wins himself a Stanley Cup? Because all of a sudden he's 29 years old and he's been there for a lot of years. Or 28 years old, whatever he is. So don't at me. It doesn't matter how old he is. But he's getting not long in the tooth, but he's getting up there in age. And if not now, then when? That's the biggest question for this Oilers team, that they could probably going to be gripping the sticks a little bit, saying, is this going to be our last chance? Because like I said earlier, getting through the West is very, very hard, and they've been fortunate enough to do it twice. And the way they did it was kind of an odd way of doing things, how they looked like they were dead men walking the first two games against the Los Angeles Kings. Darcy Kemper was the goalie's name. Sorry, I don't know. I couldn't remember that, but Darcy Kemper, Vezina candidate. But they were looked like dead men walking. Stuart Skinner got pulled, and like I said before, I didn't think Skinner was ever going to play again in Oilers uniform, let alone the Stanley Cup Finals. I thought for sure that Pickard, but when Pickard got hurt, I thought for sure Pickard would have been his ball to run and run with it. But since Skinner came back, he's been all world. He's made out some unbelievable saves. I think it was game 3 or 4 last week when they played that Sunday afternoon. Skinner was unreal, and he carried on even in game 5. He was forced to make some saves, and he did. And that's I've said it before, and I'll say it again. That's the secret to being a good goaltender in the National Hockey League playoffs, is that you stop all the easy ones, a few of the hard ones, and that's the key to success. Don't be the reason why your team loses. And right now, Stuart Skinner's been that guy. He's not been the reason why they've lost games. He's been the reason why they've won games. And I know it sounds easy and it sounds rhetorical, but that's how goaltending works in National Hockey League. It's crazy how a couple of weeks or a few weeks can change everything. I was talking to a friend of mine, Mike Davis, big Oilers fan, had the same thing about a month ago. Skinner didn't want to be seen anywhere. And all of a sudden it's Stu, right? And so if he's as good as he's been, they have a real shot at winning this thing. They have a really good shot at winning this National Hockey League championship, the Stanley Cup. And I really, I think it's all the betting lines. It's basically a pick 'em. Who knows who's going to win this thing? It's going to be a very, very, very tough series for the Oilers because of the way Florida plays and the way Coach Maurice coaches the Panthers team. I was saying on the Belly Up show not that long ago that the X factor, like one of the factors in this series, is that Chris Knobloch. I got called Chuck. Chris Knobloch, he kind of fell into a warm pool of butter. We're getting this Oilers team that was struggling last year, and everybody knows the story. They were going to be out of the playoffs, made a coaching change, and go to the finals. And Knobloch was, a catalyst, and they were a different voice in the room, which is needed a lot of times. But the thing that Paul Maurice has this pedigree, and Paul Maurice knows how to play people. And Paul Maurice is a great motivator, and he's going to have this team playing in a different kind of way. And the thing I like about Florida a lot is that they don't have a superstar. They have a bunch of guys who play the game the right way, and they play like that term gets thrown out a lot, very loosely, I think. But they play the game to win a championship. They don't care who scores goals. They don't need one guy to score. They say they score by committee. They have a bunch of guys that can get it done. And adding another one of these X factors. I think I have 14 X factors already. I'm 14 minutes into this thing. One of the X factors is going out and getting a veteran presence like Brad Marchand. I know he only has the one Stanley Cup with the Bruins. It's crazy those Bruin teams only won that one cup. How many great teams they've had with all those great players they had over the years, and only got the one in was it 2011 against the Canucks. I remember what happened after that when they tried to burn the city down, the Vancouver fans. But grabbing a guy like Marchand, who's a winning pedigree, who's done it all everywhere he's ever went, it was a huge acquisition at the deadline. And why other teams, Leafs, didn't go after him and get him is kind of a mystery to me. But Marchand is there, and then the acquisition, I think, early in the season as well, of Seth Jones, who's a very good player. I think he got 3 or 4 goals in the playoffs. He's a great player. Well, not a great player. He's a really, really good player. It's a big difference between a really good player and a great player. But Seth Jones has been a very, very, very good player in these playoffs for these Florida Panthers, and he's not afraid to punch in the face either. Like, he's not afraid to slash a guy and hit a guy and do whatever he's got to do. Like, this entire team, it doesn't mind doing that. Another guy that I never, because we don't get to watch a lot of Florida Panthers hockey. If you're not a Florida Panthers fan, you're not going to tune in a whole bunch. They play a lot of Saturday afternoon games, so I'm just not going to watch. But Sam Bennett might be another guy. He's on his last year of his last basic games as a Florida Panther, because his contract is up this year. And what's he going to be playing for? Is he playing for a new contract? Is he going to be staying in Florida wearing flip flops his entire career? If I was him, I would. Lesser tax, no taxes at all. No, you can kind of play in anonymity, so that's a big thing too. And then Aaron Ekblad, long time Panther. He's another gritty player who doesn't mind punching a guy in the face either. He's on the last year of his contract. I think he's one of the longest serving Panthers of all time. So they have a lot of guys playing maybe their last times in their Panther uniforms to get to another Stanley Cup. And winning a Stanley Cup is one thing, but getting two, that solidifies a huge legacy, and not a lot of guys get a chance to get two, let alone 2 in a row. And this Panthers team has this opportunity to do something that most people don't. And I think that might be a huge deal for them. And then having that mentality that they've already done it, so they can play a little bit loosey-goosey. They can play a little bit harder. They can say, okay, we already have this one. Whereas Edmonton, because this edition, of the Oilers, they don't have one. And they're probably thinking, okay, well, McDavid's contract's up. I think he's probably going to sign no matter what, but you just never know, because he might think the grass might be greener elsewhere, and who wouldn't want Connor McDavid? Because if he doesn't win one now, then when? If he doesn't get one in Edmonton this year, then when? Do I move on to Florida? Do I move on to a different team that might be close, because he needs to have one? You can have all the stats you want. You can have all the Art Ross trophies and a Rocket Richard trophies and whatever, and Masters, whatever trophies that he wins year in, year out, and his mantle is full. But without a Stanley Cup on your mantle and on your Hall of Fame plaque, what have you really done? Yeah, you got millions and millions of dollars in the bank. He's probably very happy. He's probably a very, very happy man. I'm not saying that the Stanley Cup will complete his happiness, but it wouldn't hurt. I just think that he needs to get this one this year, because next year might be too late. There might not be a next year. And you only get so many chances. Like, how many guys, if Perry doesn't come back next year, if there's Hyman injury and surgery, but like just all the little things that have to happen to get yourself into a Stanley Cup championship, it's tough. And you lose players, and you lose. You just lose that momentum that you have, and you start to doubt yourself a little bit if you don't get one. And this year, I think they have to get this one done. And McDavid, like I said, he is on that path to looking at getting one, and he has that eye of the tiger. But you eventually have to get it done. And is this year they do it? Stuart Skinner has been fantastic. I'm mesmerized by how great he's been. I'm mesmerized about how great he's been, considering that everybody wrote him off. He made some saves jumping around the ice, and for a big body like that to be moving like he's been, it's been unbelievable. Yeah, I don't think that if Calvin Pickard is your answer, you're in this spot. And if Pickard is your solution to your goaltending problems, you have a bigger problem. And because so Skinner has to be the guy to stop all the easy ones, a few of the hard ones, to get it done. And just don't be the factor in losing a game. And he hasn't been since he came back from his what's what I'm looking for? Acknowledgement. Yeah, exoneration to the bench, I guess. It's crazy how it's all worked out for this Oilers team, how they've got there and how they have it done. Home ice advantage is going to be huge. And the Oilers do have that. That crowd in Edmonton is going to be absolutely ruckus on Wednesday night. The whole province is behind them. Maybe not people in Calgary, but everybody behind them. It's been a lot of fun to listen to Oilers fans, how excited they are. And there's a real sense of positivity this time around, even though they are facing the champs. Take a line from Ric Flair: to be the man, you got to beat the man. And that's another thing that I think that just that loosey-goosey attitude that the Panthers are going to have going into this game one, they really have, I don't want to say nothing to lose, because it's a dumb statement, but because they already have the one Stanley Cup, so they kind of have nothing to lose. They have that loosey-goosey mentality that we have one. They have that arrogance about them. Matthew Tkachuk, I remember a few weeks back when he was looking, I can't remember, against the Leafs there, when he was looking across the ice at Matthews and Marner and saying, "You're not beating us. You're not beating us. There's no way you're beating us." And they have that arrogance towards them, that confidence towards themselves, where they really believe that. And whereas that first period on Monday night, or Wednesday night, sorry, if I was Paul Maurice, I would tell that Florida team, don't even worry about the puck. Don't worry about it. Hit everything that moves. Hit everything that moves, and maybe get a cheap one, and then something bounce off somebody's ankle or something, and then roll from there. Because that Edmonton crowd is going to be unbelievable. But if Florida can do something, have a few big hits, and shut people up, and get the Oilers on their heels a little bit, that'll be the key to success. And I don't think I'm sure Paul Maurice has already thought this. He's a much better hockey mind than I am, but I just really believe that if they go out and can do that, and can pull off a game one on the road, because winning in Edmonton, I think they've only lost the one game at home in these playoffs. But that Florida team's been road warriors so far in these playoffs. So it's the immovable force, or the immovable object, the immovable force, or whatever Gorilla Monsoon used to say. It should be an interesting series. I think it's going to be a fun one. I think it's going to be one of the funner Stanley Cup Finals you've ever seen. It all starts on Wednesday night, and it's just you wonder what's going through the Oilers fans' mind. Like, I'm an Oilers guy, but I'm not a big fan. You wonder what's going through Connor McDavid's mind. Is this my last chance? Is this my only chance? You remember when they lost last year and he won the Conn Smythe Trophy, which I've always found weird. I remember back, it was '87, I think, when the Flyers lost to the Oilers in the Stanley Cup Finals, and they gave the Conn Smythe to Ron Hextall. And I was just a young whippersnapper back then, 13 years old or 12 years old, I guess, when that playoff was done, because my birthday's in August, so I guess I would have only been 12. And I was like, well, they lost, so how's he getting a Conn Smythe Trophy? He's the most valuable player. I think you should have to win to get the Conn Smythe, because let's just say if a team gets beat out in the third round, and some guy put up, I don't know, 40 points in 3 rounds, is he the MVP of the playoffs? He should be by the letter of the law. I think you have to win it. You have to win the Stanley Cup to be considered the MVP and the Conn Smythe winner. But that maybe that's just me. But if he last year when he won the Conn Smythe, that's why I got off a little bit of a tangent there. When McDavid won the Conn Smythe, they didn't come out on the ice, and I don't blame them. The other teams will parading around, high fives, bum slaps, hugging each other, families are on the ice. He doesn't want to watch that. And remember how mad he got about losing the Stanley Cup Finals in 7 games, and then you remember a few years prior to that when Nathan MacKinnon lost out in the semifinals or the quarterfinals, I think it was. He wasn't happy. So we haven't won shit. I haven't done shit in my career. It took me 23 minutes and 35 seconds this podcast to swear. A lot better than I used to be, obviously. But you look at these guys; they really want to win. And the Stanley Cup Finals, and to win the Stanley Cup, it's hard. It's the hardest thing to do in sport. Maybe with the Memorial Cup might be a little bit harder, because you got to play a tournament to beat all the champions to win that. But the Stanley Cup Finals is the hardest thing to do, which the Oilers have seen last year. Now they're in it again. But they've been so good. It would be really hard to put down $20 against the Oilers right now. They have the best player on the planet. They have a goaltender who's hot. They have one of the top 5 guys in Draisaitl. Is their defense good enough? We won't see. The Hyman injury hurts a lot, but then they have Perry and they have Pat or Evander Kane, who don't mind punching guys in the face either. So they will match for toughness on that end. But Florida's done it. That's the biggest thing. And they have Sergei Bobrovsky, who's one of the best goalies on the planet. He doesn't give up bad goals. He doesn't cost you games. Never has. He hasn't had a great player pedigree until last year, but seems to have straightened that out. Is that the thing? They're just too good. And they have they have a good team attitude. They have a good team now attitude. They seem to get along. That Verhaeghe's a hell of a player too. The Marchand deal, I think, put them over the top. It's going to be. I think it's going to go 7. I really do. I think it's going to be like an hour ago. I had a different. I thought it was going to go 6 Oilers, but now you start thinking about this and the matchups and this and that. And the only real difference to me, yes, McDavid's the best on the planet, but that they kind of cancel things out a little bit because the way this Florida team plays. They play hard. They play heavy. They hit people. They punch people. They don't care. They don't care. They're there for one reason only. I know all teams are, they say, but they're there to win. They don't care who scores goals. They don't rely on one guy. They don't rely on one guy to take it. They don't rely on a power play, a penalty kill. They're a total team effort that Paul Maurice inherited last year when he went there. I think it's going to be a hell of a series. I really do. I think it's going to be highly entertaining. I really hope the Oilers can pull this one off. I'm not being a fanboy here. I just really hope that they pull this off because it'd be a lot of fun to be a part of. We'll probably go to Boston Pizza on Wednesday night to watch Game 1, Game 5, or Game 2. Sorry, on Friday the Bulls have a game, so I can't really miss that one. But it's going to be interesting to see how it all rolls out. I think it's going to be a lot of fun to watch. I think there's going to be a lot of very happy Oiler fans when this is all said and done. Yeah, I don't know. I want the Oilers to win. I really do, just for the atmosphere that it brings. My life will still go on no matter who wins, no matter who loses. And most people should think that way too. Don't be smashing TVs. Don't be burning jerseys. That's stupid. But I really think that the Edmonton Oilers, and this is the year that they get it done. I think the Cup is coming back to Canada for the first time in a lot of years. I don't know if that matters to a lot of people. It doesn't matter to me a whole bunch, because most players are Canadian anyway, so I could care less about that little thing. But that will be a narrative that's pushed on people throughout the week and a half that these Stanley Cup Finals are on. McDavid has to be legend, and is this the time where his legacy becomes what it is? Is this the time where he becomes one of the all-time greats? He's already going to the Hall of Fame. If for some reason he were to retire tomorrow, he's going to the Hall of Fame no matter what. He's the greatest. He's the best player to ever lace him up until this moment. And that's not disputable, I don't think. He's not the greatest. We've been through this too. Wayne Gretzky's still the greatest, or Bobby Orr, whoever you want to pick. There's still people who dispute that. But Connor McDavid is the best to play the game. But he has to get himself a cup. And if he doesn't do it this year, then when? And I think this year that they finally get it done. They have to stay out of the penalty box. They have to play smart. Corey Perry has to chip in some goals. They have to get some points from Bouchard on the point. They have to get some points from Nurse on the point. Nurse has to just be Nurse is more of a guy right now. He has to live up to what I said about goaltenders. Don't do anything stupid. Don't give up the mistakes. Just do what you do. Don't try to do too much. Because when Nurse tries to do too much, it never turns out well for him. It doesn't. I think the Oilers win this one. I deep down inside, I think the Edmonton Oilers can pull this thing off. I think it's their time. I want to see the people of Edmonton have a good time. I want to see that place go electric. I've had an opportunity, been to a few playoff games over the years in Edmonton, not at the new place, but at the old place, and it was always crazy. I don't expect anything different in the coming days. Brad Marchand is going to be a pain in the ass, and he's very good at it. He's very good at it. Is he going to get it under McDavid's skin? Probably. Is he going to get under Draisaitl's skin? I don't think so, because Draisaitl does. He has that aura about him. Doesn't seem to care a whole bunch. He just shrugs things off, and so maybe that's that Eastern European vibe about him, or it's that German vibe about him. He's just saying whatever. Perry's got to be smart. He can't let Marchand get underneath him. He can't let Bennett get to him. He can't let Tkachuk get to him. And Tkachuk hasn't been great, and they're still in the finals. So if Tkachuk can put on whatever, a few days off probably help them. If Tkachuk can get a little bit healthy and do something, this Florida team's going to be really tough to beat. They're good. They're really good. Would I be surprised if Florida won? No, not at all. They're the champs. To be the man, you got to beat the man. But they're the champs, and they're playing with some swagger, and they're playing with some confidence, and they're playing with everything that you could possibly want in a championship run. And how many years have they got left in them? So they want to keep winning. They want to keep winning because you might not get another chance. They've gotten there on the hard work. Don't expect their game plan to change. Don't expect them to not be hitting guys all over the ice and killing penalties and bumping and spitting and chewing and everything else got to be. It's going to be a beauty of a series, probably one of the better ones we've seen in a long time. Prediction time, I'm going to say Oilers in 6 just because I don't want to see a game 7 because the Bulls play if there'll be a game 7. So I don't want to see that. It's when the Bulls play the Oilers. I learned last year, or the Bulls played when the Oilers were in the playoffs. We get bad crowds because people are watching hockey games. So I hope it's done in 6. We have the one game on Friday, like I said. But this is this McDavid and Draisaitl's moment. This is their chance to be Crosby and Malkin. This is their chance to be Kane and Taves. This is their chance to be Gretzky and Messier. This is their chance to go out and do something special, to become legends, like absolute legends in the city of Edmonton and right across this country. This is their opportunity to do it, and if they don't do it now, then when? And that's the biggest question that they'll have to ask themselves if they don't get this done. Because I know Draisaitl signed, but will McDavid leave? Who knows? It's his right to do it after his contract's up. Do I expect him to leave? No, but he'll want to win a cup. Your Hall of Fame plaque doesn't care how many points you got. It's got to say Stanley Cup champion on it. Stanley Cup champions are remembered, not some guy who scored a bunch of points. There's a lot of those, not at this pace, obviously, but there's a lot of guys who have a lot of points. So this is their chance to get something done. And they have to get it done this year, because if not now, then when? That's the biggest question that has to be asked. Stuart Skinner has to be better than average, great at times, has to be just as good as Bobrovsky. McDavid be McDavid. Perry and Kane have to be pains in the ass. They have to be pains in the ass to those other guys, so that they're getting chased around the ice. And so McDavid and Draisaitl can do their thing. That's going to be the whole series. Evander Kane and Corey Perry. Perry scores the winner, game 6, overtime. There's my prediction. And then I'm going to give, because the way this Stanley Cup, unless they just give it to McDavid because you're supposed to, my prediction for a Conn Smythe guy is a way that, and if a goalie wins it a lot of times, you look over the years, the Conn Smythe Trophy winners, a goalie a lot of times, because they have to be great. But the way Stewie's come back, look, I know I'm Stewie, but the way Skinner's come back and been as good as he has after being exiled, that's what I was looking for. From being exiled to Robidaw Island, he's been so good. I don't think they can't give him the Conn Smythe. I think he has to win it. If they always win the cup, it's Stuart Skinner's Conn Smythe to lose. So there it is. My prediction: Oilers in 6, Perry in overtime, on the road. I'd rather be at home, but you don't want to go to a game 7 situation. Actually, win it in 5. Win it in 5 at home and watch Edmonton have a good time. That'd be a lot of fun, and watch the country have a good time and everything else. So that's my prediction. That'll wrap up the hockey season. Anyways, that's the 1420 Sports Bar Podcast. 4 Beer Sports, talking a whole lot more. Modified edition. I've been talking all day. I'm tired and everything else, but I thought I'd get one out there before the finals start and see get it out there and see put my thoughts out the airways like I usually do. Might do one again tomorrow night when I got a little more time in my hands. Bull season starts. I did a bullhorn earlier on today for you Leopard Bulls fans. Makes the Bull team get up to a great start over the weekend. But me and Coach Josh Bergman had a nice talk about what we're looking forward to for the remainder of the week. We're going to do one every Monday morning throughout the Bull season. So that was a lot of fun to talk with Josh, talk some baseball in the 1420 Sports Bar Podcast, and then go watch the Belly Up Super Show or the Belly Up Sports YouTube page. And I got some more content up on my YouTube page as well. But go Oilers, go! It's one chance. See a chance, take it. Find romance, make it. Right, Steve Winwood. See a chance. Yeah, they got it. They got to take it. They if not now, then when? And I think the whole country is actually cheering. Even the people in Calgary, they may say they aren't, but I think that they are. This is their year. Go Oilers, go! And we'll talk to you guys again tomorrow night. Have a good night, folks, and remember, it doesn't matter where you are; it's who you're with. Take it easy, folks, and have yourself a pleasant good evening. Thanks for tuning into the 1420 Sports Bar Podcast. For beer and sports talk and a whole lot more, brought to you by SeatGeek. Go to bellyupsports.com for the best of sports articles and podcasts. Subscribe to our YouTube channel or wherever it is you get your podcast. Let's get in.